You are listening to Vitruvian Man with Jesse and Josh.
Welcome back to the show. I'm here with my co-host Josh. Hi, Josh.
My man, how you doing?
Man, so good to see you.
As usual, this is fucking dope.
I don't know if people out there have friends like Josh, but every time I see Josh, she's the best. Every time we hang out, it's the funnest.
It's always fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, last week, real quick, just to take care of some business here.
House cleaning.
Yeah. So I mentioned last week gargantuan news. And the gargantuan news was we have an email.
Solid.
So huge. Well, I would say this week's news kind of dwarfs last week's gargantuan news. So it's like, it's not 10 times bigger, it's 1 billion times bigger. We have voicemail.
Fuck yes.
What is the voicemail number?
Don't
you have that with you right now, Josh?
I think it's in a text you sent me, but that's all I got for you.
So guys, I realized last week, I said, go ahead and leave an email with a voice message, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized maybe 10% of our audience is capable of uploading a voice file to an email. I'm like, okay, so that's a fucking awful idea. Don't mess around with that. You don't have to do that. So our voicemail, 415-484-8841. It'll be in the show notes every week, so you don't have to memorize it, but it is 415-484-8841. So you have to let it ring for about 20 to 25 seconds, which is annoying. But we can download your question as an MP3 file, and if you want us, we will play it on the air.
Let us know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if you don't want to be on the air, we understand. Just let us know what you'd like.
Totally. And if you just have a question that you want off the air, that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll respect that. So gargantuan news, we've got voicemail. Call us anytime. Correct us, stuff like that.
Got an email, got a voicemail.
All right. I'm before we get to our main topic, you actually had a cool little tagline for the show. Will you say it out loud? Because I've already forgotten it.
An antidote to toxic masculinity.
Right. So we want to be an antidote to toxic masculinity. And, and again, as we've said earlier on, we hope that all people listen to the show. The show is kind of about masculinity, but it's meant to be entertaining for everybody. So if you're recommending it to a friend of any gender, go ahead and tell them, like, we are interested in your viewpoints. And, again, we want to be fact checked, but also we want this to be a show that's fun for everybody. And even though we talk about heavy shit, it's supposed to be entertaining.
We're supposed to be having a good time here.
So Josh, today,
tell me,
we talked about a topic.
Yep.
And for years I've been saying if I ever got a master's or a PhD, I would want to write my thesis statement on male aggression in the digital age.
Because you're a gamer.
I am a gamer.
Yeah.
I've been playing Call of Duty online since 2005.
Damn, really?
So
you're like a real fucking gamer.
I'm a nerd. I've been collecting informally data on male aggression for quite a long time. So I did want to do some research though too, but obviously I just don't want to mention anecdotal things.
Yeah.
But I actually found a lovely quote. I don't know if you're familiar with Hjalmar Soderberg. He's one of Sweden's most important authors. I wasn't either. I don't feel bad if no one knows who that is. But Hjalmar Soderberg said something profound that I want to lead off our show. People want to be loved, feeling that admired, feeling that feared, feeling that hated and despised. They want to evoke some sort of sentiment. The soul shudders before oblivion and seeks connection at any price. Now, that doesn't make me feel sympathy for incels and various assholes, but it does really explain the behavior.
Sure, yeah.
That's since you've studied a lot of gaming, trolls is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Both online culture and gaming, right? Someone that is awful just immediately to seek attention. And in gaming, you'll see this. You'll be in a pretty friendly lobby, people just talking and joking. And at the end of a game, a lot of guys will just say good, and women will say good game or GG or whatever. And someone will just come in spicy and say something awful. And it's actually, I've heard the lobby laugh before at something like that. There are times where, yes, you're going to run into some MAGA people and you're like, I need to mute these people immediately. But there's other times where you're at a pretty friendly lobby and suddenly someone says something stupid and awful and actually gets a laugh.
So now, real quick, what is a lobby in this context?
Oh, okay. So in Call of Duty, it's the kind of group of 12 that's going to play in the next game.
So you kind of hang out and you're like hanging out, kind of coordinating and getting your head together for the game?
And mostly it's just like, so let's say minute to 4 minutes before a game starts. It's just kind of...
And are you thrown in together, or do you meet up as like you know each other?
Right. So you could have a clan where you've got,
all right.
and let's use the small C, not the big K. Let's not confuse this with the K.
The angry K.
It's the small C, which is just your friends.
Sure.
So in fact, you can play with 5 of your best friends and mute everybody and have a lovely experience. I've got a friend. He's now a lifetime friend that I met. He happens to be in LA. But we've met in real life, and he's a wonderful dude, and will definitely be a friend for a lifetime. So people do. It's funny because one of the things I've noticed is that people say that the digital age has brought us and made us kind of more kind of isolated and alone. I don't agree with that, because I think in high school, most of my friends were as much enemies as they were friends. They were kind of harsh people. And I didn't really find my kind of people that were into the things that I was into. And my son has really found his people.
Online?
Yes. And of course he's met people in real life that he likes and respects and things like that.
My nephew in Boston has met his current girlfriend online.
Oh, and how they've been together a couple of years?
They've been together for a while. That's a whole different story. But and also they've met friends gaming. I mean, I can see it. I can see that being a thing. I am a curmudgeonly old fuck, so I don't meet people that way. I feel much better meeting people in person. But that's just how that's a personal choice, not judgment on meeting people online.
And of course, the flip side is it allows Nazis to meet.
Yes.
So awful people
yes, it does.
have found it much easier to meet other awful people.
Yeah.
Some of the studies I'm going to be citing today relate to the escalation of hate speech that has happened since the pandemic. I don't know if you are aware of this, but hate speech against Asians, against trans people, and Jews, all kinds of minority groups has gone way up in the pandemic.
I mean, without, when you're speaking of that, you have to also talk about the fact that the assholes in charge have basically given people free license and permission to be shitbirds online. And it's really easy for those assholes to meet, especially with places like Gab that don't fucking censor, that like they're a free speech platform until it's not the speech they like.
That's a really good point. And let's remember that places like Facebook made money from hate speech.
Abso-fucking-lutely. It's all part of the algorithm. They all still make money off of hate speech. I mean, even TikTok, Instagram, all those major platforms, like their algorithm wouldn't function without them driving some sort of compulsive behavior, and hate is a compulsive behavior.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Hate ties to rageaholic behavior, which is absolutely addictive.
Yeah.
Rage is actually one of the most addictive substances because it's cheap or free. Let's say free. But I mean, the thing is too that like with Twitter, before Elon Musk bought Twitter, a lot of Nazis got kicked off.
Right.
And that was the right thing to do.
That was the right thing to do.
Let's not conflate free speech with hate speach. Right? Because there's consequences to speech.
There's consequences, right. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Absolutely.
But there will be a price in a lot of cases. Well, it used to be. I think that's changed.
It could be apocryphal, but there's a Mike Tyson quote about that. It's something like, a lot of people are forgetting that you can get punched in the face for something like this. It doesn't really matter if he said it because he's right.
Whoever said that is totally fucking right. Yeah.
Famously, there was an adult where he was playing Call of Duty. I think it was Call of Duty, and this teenager talked so much shit about him. He found out where the kid lived and punched him out. Now, that's assault. That's illegal.
Yeah,
But it was a consequence of his speech.
He learned something that day.
So actually, we're talking about male aggression in the digital age. But I the first site I found that talked about this. I'm
Just
sorry.
real
Go ahead.
quick,
Yes.
Let's define that, because let's kind of figure out like where we're going with this. So, male aggression in the digital age. Are you speaking about specifically gaming because that's where you're coming from, or online in general? What? Sing it.
That's a good question. Relevant. I think I'm interested in all aspects of this.
Yeah.
So, Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
Reddit, Twitter. I see it all as one big pot.
Yeah. For
essentially,
sure.
because a lot of the bad actors are dipping their fingers in a lot of these realms anyway.
Multiple platforms.
Yes.
Yeah. 4chan, 8chan, 8kun, Reddit.
What is it? What is the 8kun?
So 8chan, after nobody would host them, became 8kun, and that
How do you spell that?
A-K-U-N.
Okay.
Which, so 8chan is like cute. I think it's cute girl, but 8kun is cute boy.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the two.
That's Japanese?
It's Japanese. Yeah.
Okay.
The Watkins. This is something we can get into at another point. But 8kun is where all the Q drops went to.
Okay. What is? Say the other one. Watkins. You don't want to get into that right now.
Jim and Ron Watkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
another episode.
that is its. We could probably do a series on that whole scene.
Okay.
Because it's whack.
Okay. Do you think we defined male aggression in the digital age well enough? Did we cover anything that you think we haven't?
No, I think so. Because
Okay.
it's not just gaming. It's over interactive things as well as solo platforming kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Real quick, I did find this website called Ditch the Label. I don't know every charitable organization, but I like to know as many as I can. This is an organization devoted to stopping cyberbullying. And they've got ways you can report cyberbullying. They've done exhaustive scientific studies also on cyberbullying and hate speech. For example, with their Twitter report that I just read, they scraped a lot of data from Twitter to kind of see the demographics for how often was something misogynist, what was the gender that was committing the misogyny, and guess what? Much in the way that white women helped get Trump elected, women are actually responsible for the majority of misogynist speech on Twitter.
Huh.
So let's call misogynist speech not just anti-women, right? But let's define it as, men aren't supposed to cry, which implies women cry, which implies women are weak. So, like, for example, I have seen women who appeared to be kind of woke in every other way make fun of a man for crying.
Right.
And this is the essence of our show here.
Sure.
Because if a man shouldn't punch or kill something to cope with it, right? If a modern male is to be more enlightened than that,
Deal with their emotions in a
Yes.
productive way, right?
yes, you cannot tap into that and pretend there are no other effects, right?
Right.
You can't be a feminist man that cares about women's rights and be this stoic, tough thing where nothing gets through. That's not how that works.
Right.
The thing is, we're trying to generate empathy, right? I just found it unbelievable that the majority of people kind of perpetrating misogyny on Twitter are women.
So this is specifically Twitter?
Yes,
Okay.
that's related to Twitter. Although, it kind of makes sense. And, I was watching LA Confidential the other day. I know that's a complete tangent. But I was noticing, as much as I like that movie, the kind of ridiculous tropes that are still in there, they're kind of left over from old Hollywood.
Yeah.
Kim Basinger plays a prostitute in that movie. And the handsome young Russell Crowe both loves her and is reviled by the thought that she's a prostitute. And before he'll deem to have sex with her, he calls her a whore more than once. Essentially, even if he doesn't use that word, he uses words like that.
Yeah, right.
Now, here's the thing about canceling old movies and TV. It is 1,000% reflective of the society it was made in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When
Yes.
we need to talk
Agreed.
about this, right? You can't cancel Mark Twain. If Mark Twain uses the N-word in his book, which he does a lot, it is 1,000% reflective of the time that it was made in.
And also in context with specifically Mark Twain. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent here, but like he's using it intentionally. Like
Intentionally.
there's a reason he's using it. And for people to cancel him, they're missing the entire point of that fucking his books, all of his books. Like they just don't get what he's doing. I mean, it's like canceling fucking Frank Sinatra because he isn't enlightened enough. But he was like a real mover as far as like civil rights, women's rights. He was.
Oh, I didn't know women's rights.
He was. I mean, he like for the 60s. He was the fucking. He was a mensch.
So the anecdote I heard, which was incredible, was he's friends with Sammy Davis Jr., and refused to play clubs that wouldn't let Sammy come through the front door and play there.
Absolutely.
I'm dead serious, and we know this. Some of you people, I just said, some of our listeners know that, for example, Duke Ellington, the greatest living composer in American history, would go through the back door to go to his concerts.
Yeah.
So indignified. But Frank Sinatra, and that's how social justice happens.
Right.
People in power say no more.
And then it's built upon. And
right.
so their movement looks quaint, even though at the time it was groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So did he do similar things for women? Like he insisted that certain performers be able to...
That I don't know about that. But I just know that like as a person, he was a mensch. He was a good guy. and that's the thing, right? Abraham Lincoln has been canceled recently. Oh Jesus.
And the thing is, Abraham Lincoln, much like almost every single politician of his era, helped sign laws that meant genocide to Native Americans. They did.
Oh, yeah.
Now, yes, that is 1,000% true. But I think the thing we have to take away from this is it's not just, did you do something great or did you do something awful? It's your life's work. Did you progress social justice?
In context of your time.
And I'm not saying Abraham Lincoln was a great guy. That is not the point of what I'm saying. Context matters.
Yeah.
And especially the time period matters.
Yeah.
So I did get on a gigantic
let's back to it here.
So,
all right, there we go. Okay, so this website, the Ditch the Label.
Anyway, so I want to recommend it to everybody. Go ahead.
So when you report something to them, some misogyny or something of that sort, what do they do with it?
So that's what I don't know. I just found this today, so I'm a little dumb. But I've already contacted the CEO asking if he wants to come on our show.
That'd be dope.
Because it feels like a wonderful kind of like cross, pollination of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But they're meant to study things like, for example, the rise, for example, of, let's say, hate speech against people with AIDS has gone up too. I didn't know that. That was something I was reading about on his website.
Really?
Yes. So, anyway, do check out the website.
Okay.
It's wonderful, and it is great source material for what we're talking about.
Okay.
So, but let's keep it moving here.
Yeah.
Do you have some bullets you'd like to talk about today?
Well, I'm interested to hear about your experiences and how you dealt with them on the gaming platforms and like, have you found certain games attract bigger dickweeds? That kind of thing. Is it Call of Duty seems like it'd probably be ripe for assholes, right? Just because it's a killing game.
For example, if you're playing Minecraft, right? Yeah. My son played Minecraft for many years. That's going to be much younger children.
Right. Roblox.
Yes, right. Exactly. You know exactly. How do you know about Roblox?
That's the only thing I know, dude.
Okay.
I know that in Tetris. That's I know Mario Kart too. Okay. That's the only fucking game I really play.
So first of all, if you're a parent and you're wondering, should your kid get involved in online gaming? I'm telling you, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. So
is that across the board? What age do you think is kind of appropriate?
Yes, Minecraft. I think if I'm letting my son playing a Minecraft and he's little, I'd like to hear what's happening.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, Call of Duty is a much more adult audience, and it's meant for people 18 and up. I think if the game even says restricted.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? But there's a lot of children playing that game. Honestly. So I was looking at my friends list the other day. There's he's like a 10-year-old. I met him online playing. Before you call the police, he's just a friend, a lovely kid. But God, the sweetest, most innocent kid. And I think of the things that he's hearing on these sites, and it's really terrifying. What I find interesting, have you noticed, I've done a little informal research myself on the nod. I'm not sure women nod at each other, but men do. Nod is a thing that men do. Some kind of lift their head up. But have you noticed that the return nod is a measure of, okay, that guy's all right. The stern look back is a measure that something's wrong. I'll break that down again. When I nod at someone and they nod back, okay, that person's safe.
Right.
At least for this transaction at this store, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But you'll nod at certain people, they'll look right at you, and no nod comes back.
Yeah.
And now that behavior on Call of Duty is very similar. And what I find interesting is what de-escalates violence and violent behavior and aggressive behavior is humor. And I think, okay, on one hand, you can think, Jesse, duh, humor is the salve that kind of like lubricates everything.
Yeah.
But I've been in a lobby that was instantly hostile before, where humor instantly made it better. And I think it's like people have their guard up, you know?
So what, in IRL, a nod is a nod. What's a nod online?
So I meet a lot of interesting people on playing online. I like to talk to them. I've got friends from Australia, New Zealand,
sure,
and Sweden, all kinds of places. So I'll strike up conversations with anybody.
Okay.
Now, again, if they've got a gamer tag, a clan tag that's Trump or MAGA, no.
For sure.
I'm not saying I want them to die, but I'm not interested in talking to them, especially on this platform.
Right.
But if they seem friendly, I'll start talking to them. And again, if they're instantly hostile, or if someone is instantly hostile with you, right, they haven't returned the nod.
Okay. All right.
So they haven't, like, that friendly gesture that was meant to be just harmless. If they're instantly awful to you, well, that's a bad sign.
So it's initiating conversation.
Yeah.
It's initiating contact, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
What's fun? So social justice. How is social justice progressed? It's progressed by the reinforcement of good behavior, especially by role models. So, for example, if I'm gaming and someone says you're gay, and let's be honest, they're not using that word, right?
Right.
I just like saying, yeah, super gay.
What?
And honestly, there's no response to that.
Yeah.
They don't know what to say to that. Other times, if someone is especially awful, I like to say, well, I've heard, maybe you could tell me if this is true or not, I've heard that Nazis have tiny dicks. Could you maybe prove this true for us, or what do you think? Anyway, most of the time, though, I swear to God, I am trying to de-escalate, not escalate. So what's fascinating to me is one time, it was a few months ago, 3 people, myself and 2 other people, had a political conversation. One guy was definitely a Trumper. He didn't say it, but I could tell he was. And the other guy, let's just say a third party that was also kind of different from the other 2. And we got to the end of the 10-minute game, and I said, wow, did we really just have a constructive political conversation with strangers that actually went really well? And we all kind of laughed about it. So I don't want to tell you that all these people are awful. No, some of them are wonderful and some are great.
But anonymity tends to make people feel freer with their with being an asshole. Like you said, Mike, nobody's been punched in the fucking mouth.
Yeah, and I actually said to my son several years ago, don't ever say anything online that you wouldn't say in person.
You wouldn't say in person.
Now,
that's good advice.
It is good advice. I've definitely broken that rule before.
Sure.
I have talked some shit before. And that was a negative emotional response to hurtful things, right? So
did you learn immediately that was something that you weren't going to do again, or did it take a few times?
What I mean is, I knew, so I've been telling my son that for years, and even though I believe it, I have broken that rule a few times accidentally.
Because you get wound up?
Yeah, you get upset.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we're playing in this group, and it was actually going okay. And suddenly a white guy says the N-word. And he hadn't said anything awful before that, but he says the N-word. And I said, oh, bro.
Oh, God.
So I just said, can we just not? And he says, not what? I said, just not be an asshole. And I try, honestly, not trying to talk shit. Like, can we just please not? Anyway, he just launched some bullshit and I just muted him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's funny. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, so when you mute somebody in a game like that, can you still function as a team, or does it make it more difficult?
So the great thing is you can play in a private lobby where you don't ever hear any of that nonsense.
Okay.
And that's the best way to go. Because if you and me and 3 or 4 of our friends are playing, we've got a good friend group. We don't need to make more friends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but if you're just by yourself, and it's a pretty good lobby. One person's awful, just mute him. And the nice thing is, some people will get on there playing music, which, guess what? I love hip hop too, but boy, through your awful little Bluetooth headset, it sounds pretty bad.
Sounds
you know what I mean?
ass,
Like, I'm not listening to your song played through that shitty Bluetooth headset.
Right.
So, anyway.
So, what else you got for me on this? What else has your research turned up?
Well, Dr. Jesse. No. Well, I guess there's a lot of, yes, there is a lot of aggression online. There's a lot of bad behavior. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of homophobia. There's all the things that you think of. But I think it is a good lesson for in real life as well. Because in the workplace, at a baseball game, you're going to see bad behavior.
It's so much different, though. I mean, really, you're like the whole thing. Just being online, that anonymous bit, it changes fucking everything.
It sure does.
Because it's true. There is a certain amount of like physical repercussions that'll happen if you fucking start mouthing off.
Absolutely.
And if you start throwing around the N-word or calling people, F word, just rolling around with it, it's like somebody's going to fucking take you up on it.
It's true.
But online, I mean, have you ever rode the Chans? Have you ever gone into 4chan or any of that
So
stuff?
now I'd like to talk about that.
Okay.
No, tell me.
Well, I didn't get super into the 4chan. I was more early Reddit. And frankly, I loved early Reddit. It was like the Wild West.
And what year would that be?
So this is, I probably started. Okay, do you remember Dig? The website Dig.
Yeah.
So there's this thing they ended up calling it Digopolis, right? So
Right.
what happened is like these guys got in there and they started gaming the algorithm, and instead of stuff actually being voted or kind of hitting the top. Organically through people voting for it, or I forget how Dig actually worked.
Yeah.
You click on it, you're getting clicks on it, and so it'd go up in the algorithm. It'd be more for people to see.
Sure.
These guys figured out how to game it, and it just ended up one day. It was crazy. One fucking day, all the shit on the front page, the first few pages, was conservative bullshit, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like this something fucking happened.
So they figured out the algorithm.
They figured out how to game it, and I think they use sock puppets. They started using all that shit.
Okay, now slow things down here. What's this? Are you talking about a digital sock puppet? What are we talking about here?
Digital sock. So basically, and I'm not sure exactly how these work, but it's basically setting up bots to promote your content, whatever that might be. So Dig,
bots would like your content?
Yeah, you have them you have it kind of drive your content.
Okay.
So that because you have these bots doing this, it goes up in the algorithm, and
your features will be placed higher in
than the stuff that's actually being viewed by people. Oh. Right, and you see that.
So it's manipulated the way that people used to manipulate Google. Used to be able to kind of guerrilla market through Google.
Yes, it's the same.
Like escalate your
right.
Your
all that SEO shit that used to work doesn't work any
right.
fucking more. It's the same kind of thing, but it was like gamed. So Dig got crazy. Reddit, I think, had come out maybe 6 months earlier. So this is probably, this has got to be 2006,
right?
7, something like that. And some guy on Dig's all, come over to Reddit. Come on, guys, come over to Reddit.
So Dig got super conservative, and then
it got gamed.
Yeah,
everybody left. Well, not everybody. I left,
yeah.
And then a bunch of people went over to Reddit, and then that's when Reddit was cool. Like there was a lot of really, there's interesting stuff. A lot of the subreddits that don't exist anymore came out. Watch People Die, People of Walmart. Like they're just interesting things. And then, so that would have been probably then. And I forgot where I was going with this.
We were talking about. I said, "What year did you love Reddit?"
Oh yeah,
I got into Reddit for a while too. I was just wondering what
that was it. And then
I'm sorry, but I didn't hear that. Approximately the
year.
Or
probably 2007, something like that, 6 or 7.
So that's when I started getting into Reddit. Was like 2008, I think.
Yeah.
Or so.
And then so then things happened. Reddit wanted to get big. And I can't remember her name. It was a woman that took over. and
So there's a woman took over as president
as CEO
or CEO,
and that was about the time that they started doing the first purge. So they got rid of a lot of the really dirty ones, a lot of the people from 4chan, and that's when, oh God, do you remember the site? I think it was called Goat.
I don't think so.
It was.
I remember people at Walmart. That was hilarious.
That was so hilarious.
And what was Goat?
So Goat was a website. So that first purge, all the free speech dickweeds, the Elon Musk freaks, fucking were like up in arms about it. And they decided to go start their own fucking free speech clone of Reddit. And it turned into an immediate fucking cesspool.
It's like the moment someone says the word free speech,
you know it's bad.
It's like I saw a guy today in a baseball cap. I got to say, I am prejudiced against people with baseball caps. Do you see a guy in a baseball cap and just think, oh,
it's even worse if it's backwards, right?
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
That turned into like an immediate cesspool. That was worse than 4chan. I'd ever seen 4chan. And there was some fucking bullshit on 4chan.
Right.
Those guys.
And 4chan was a message board, right?
Yeah. Well, it was a picture board.
A picture board, right?
It was a picture board that they you could incorporate messages into, but it was basically a photo board.
And I believe that, unless I'm saying this wrong, isn't Reddit and 4chan kind of one of the hugest drivers of gigantic kind of memes, right? Did a lot of memes start with Reddit and 4chan?
When the height of memes came from 4chan
right.
and Reddit. Those were the two places. And,
right.
and a lot of it started on Reddit or on 4chan and then bled out into Reddit. And then Reddit, I think, became its own driver for a while. That was when memes were cool, right? I mean, memes now suck. They're just kind of dumb. They don't have like the impact of like one picture, like conveying all this information and then having the text back it up. You know, I mean, it's.
You say that, but like I actually have a friend who I think I met through Call of Duty, but never met him in real life. But he's been my friend for years on Facebook, and his memes are so spicy and dank that I got to say that it depends on the individual, maybe, because his memes, oh my God, dude, just. His feed is the funniest, best feed, you know, just because he has the best curation of memes. So it's not completely dead.
So, well, yeah, it's not completely dead. But this gets to where, I mean, my part of this was the whole Gamergate thing, right? And just how fucking toxic that ended up being.
Did you say that started when the lady took over as CEO of Reddit?
I think that actually happened. Not so. Gamergate started in 2014, right? And generally, right, Gamergate is considered an organized attack on women in the video game industry, disguised as concerns surrounding ethics and journalism regarding video games, and especially like video game reviews, right? So this blogger put out a post called the Zoe Post, and her name was Zoe Quinn, and she had put out a game, and maybe you can help me on this because I'm not sure exactly what this means, but it was a text-based game. What does that mean to you?
So I think there are games that are, it might even be early AI, but I believe you're able to progress through a story merely through text, and so the way you progress it is the text prompt that you enter. Can further the story. I think I'm saying that right.
That makes sense. So it's not AI, but it's something that the developer puts down. You have to respond to a text prompt,
right.
And then what that does is basically moves you on to the next prompt. Okay.
So she developed a game that was a text-based game,
right? And it was called Depression Quest, and she made it as text-focused game. She made it specifically to convey the experience of depression, which she had, and it was, I guess you're right here, it was through a series of fictional scenarios which you'd kind of feed into, and it'd take you along on this journey of depression. Generally, that video game was received well, both by video game reviewers and also by mental health professionals.
So real quick, her game was based, so it's a game, but it's learning more about depression.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
It was conveying her experience of the illness through a game.
Interesting.
And I think it was probably something that helped her deal with it, but also helping other people deal with it.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Oh, you said it was well received.
It was well received by video game people and mental health people.
Right.
Unsurprisingly, the Cheeto eaters didn't like it.
So do we call the Cheeto? Is that incels?
Yes,
Yeah.
these are the worst type of gamer, right? These are the gamers that only want violence. They only want skills based. They don't want anything outside of that format because they consider it an affront to the sensibilities of gaming.
They want to wear oily sweatpants in their mommy's basement.
Yes, the basement dwellers.
Come at me, guys.
Fucking bring it. Yeah, so that was kind of like that started. Once that came out, that post came out. And essentially the post that her ex-boyfriend put out leaked a lot of personal information, a lot of chats between them, texts between them.
Oh boy.
And so he like totally dirted the game, and said the only reason that the game got any traction at all was because she was fucking the guy that reviewed it.
Okay.
So that was the beginning of...
And that wasn't true, I take it?
Well, I think that she actually had a relationship with this guy.
Okay.
So but that wasn't why she got the good review.
But so he alleged collusion.
Yes.
And obviously the game was good on its own.
It stood on its own, and it was just outside of your typical gamer kind of format.
Absolutely.
Right.
But anyway, to slow it down a little bit here. So incels would say that unless it's like Call of Duty or something like that, it's worthless. Like, in other words...
Essentially, yes.
That certain games demean gaming and aren't worthy of their fingers.
And I don't want to say incel because I think that that's kind of a very specific thing.
Okay.
Toxic gamer.
Yeah.
You know,
you said Cheeto head? No,
Cheeto eaters, the Mountain Doers.
And they would say that the ideal game is violent
well, not necessarily violent, but skills based, and not something text based, not something that deals with emotions, feelings.
Oh, those are gay.
Yeah,
we know,
obviously.
Feelings are gay. I'm sorry to use a slur. This is how people talk in this world. And I'm not going to sit here and recite a bunch of slurs, but let's face it, this is the people we're talking about.
Yeah, we all know what they say.
Yeah.
So that kind of like was the impetus for Gamergate. And what they did is they started... and it was on 4chan, of course. They started harassing her, doxing her, going after anybody who defended her, male or female, but mostly female.
Remind me what doxing is, because I've forgotten already.
So that's when they release your personal contact information, address, phone number, place you work, anything like that. Any information they can dig
so
up
that's
on
illegal. Right? That's illegal, I would assume.
I don't know if it is necessarily
So maybe
illegal.
if it's publicly, like if it's on her website.
If they can find it, then maybe. I don't know if laws have been passed. At the time, there was nothing to even deal with it, just because it was so early on in the game.
It was like a frontier, basically, yeah.
Right.
Wow,
yeah.
That's awful. So she was one of the first victims of Gamergate.
Well, it was Gamergate was specifically focused on her.
Okay. But it gets way worse, I think.
It goes out.
Yeah.
Right. It starts broadening. They start going after other women in gaming. They start going after women getting power over digital spaces, like the CEO of Reddit. It gets ugly. And then once it kind of leaks out of 4chan into the real life, it gets picked up by fucking Milo Yiannopoulos and
oh god, oh man,
Mike Cernovich.
Jeez, thanks a lot, Josh. I haven't heard that fucker's name in a long time.
It's so awesome. He's kind of fucking disappeared, but he's hated on the right now anyway because he's gay.
All right, slow it way down just because I got to talk about this for a second.
Okay,
Milo was on Bill Maher. I assume were you watching Bill Maher back then?
No.
Okay, I unfortunately was.
I think, although I do think I've either seen clips of that or something.
I seem to recall, and this is a bit from my old man memory, but I seem to recall, and this is what actually, the funny thing, Bill Maher has introduced me to some of the coolest thinkers in the world. The first time I saw Christopher Hitchens, right? Bill Maher.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Cornel West, a wonderful man, wonderful leader of the civil rights in the modern era.
Yeah.
Bill Maher.
Sam Harris was on there.
Sam Harris was on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Richard Dawkins was on there, but he probably was.
I'm sure he was.
Because he's another fellow atheist.
Yeah.
But as we know, Bill Maher has turned out to be a real asshole. And he probably was all along, but it's got worse and worse.
He's just turned into such a fucking nut job. I can't believe it.
It's funny how I saw a discussion online the other day. A young woman who's an actress had said, I don't watch movies. I don't care about movies. I can't stand movies. And anyway, as you would expect, a lot of people piled on this actress saying, personally, I just said, I don't.
Who fucking cares?
I mean, to me, it's a little bit like a musician that doesn't listen to music. I remember a kid in college when I asked him, he was kind of pretentious, but anyway, I said to him, hey, who do you listen to? And he said, I don't listen to anybody. I listen to myself. Well, that's a warning sign.
Okay, buddy.
But at any rate.
You were talking about Bill Maher.
Bill Maher, okay.
And the people that he's
Milo,
introduced you.
say his name?
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh, God, what an asshole.
Such a putz.
I derailed you. He's a garbage person. So he actually was a little star in the right-wing world.
Oh, yeah.
For a while. And I can't remember what he was saying. Do you remember?
Oh, just bullshit. I mean, just everything that the right. He was the gay guy that said everything that fucking crackers wanted to hear.
So they ate it up for a while and then threw him out because he's gay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was basically the gay Candace Owens. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
He said all the stuff that they wanted to hear, and because he was gay, he got a fucking spot, and he was on Breitbart.
Right.
And at Breitbart, he ended up getting a hold of this whole Gamergate thing, and he and Mike Cernovich started broadcasting it to the wider world, which is where it got out there. And also
broadcasting what?
The Gamergate hashtag.
So were they, let's say, vocally supporting misogyny, or what were they doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, there was. So the whole premise of Gamergate was women shouldn't. Well, okay. What they were promoting was ethics in journalism, especially in journalism.
They called it ethics
regarding video games, because they said that that Zoe Quinn got her a good review because she, fucked the reviewer. Horseshit. And them coming out and saying, I mean, it was just an excuse for them to come out and start doxing women and going after women, especially Zoe, right? I mean, they fucking ruined her life for a while. I think that she's kind of recovered at this point, because really Gamergate only lasted from like 2014 to maybe early 2016.
Right.
Kind of fizzling out late 2015, but still continuing on. But yeah, so the whole ethics and journalism thing coming from those assholes. Holy fuck. I mean, it's a genius move. Like, really, that is somebody was thinking on 4chan.
Talk about pot calling the kettle black.
Fuck, dude. And especially being picked up by fucking Breitbart, ethics and journalism.
George Carlin used to talk about military intelligence. It's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Jumbo shrimp. Ethics in right-wing media is,
non-existent.
Yet another oxymoron.
Yeah, another oxymoron. So, totally. So that's kind of the basic story of Gamergate. With that, they started promoting, going after people, calling them SJWs. I think that was where social justice warriors started, really, like, that term really started hitting big.
But SJW is an insult.
As an insult, right. White knights, that kind of stuff. They really started that
Are
stuff.
white knights white people that are woke?
No, so white knights are women, are people that come, men, simps, that come to women's defense.
Okay. The other day, I heard Sharon Stone interviewed, and she's great. I don't know if you've ever heard her interviewed. She's got a lot of smart things to say.
Smart, yeah.
She's been in Hollywood for many years, so she
knows the deal.
She knows the deal.
Yeah.
And I found it fascinating that let's say in real time 3 weeks ago, a male film executive said to her, "No one likes a loud broad."
Jesus Christ, dude.
If you see a cigar chomping idiot say that in an 80s film or a 70s film, you'd expect that.
You're like, all right, I mean, that's time appropriate, I guess.
Someone said this to
Still
her
an asshole.
3 fucking
What
weeks
the
ago.
fuck?
No one likes a loud broad. I'm sorry, let's go to another tangent. Do you remember when Bill Clinton was elected? One of the things that people hated about him was very soon, it was either before he was elected or right after, he goes, I talk to my wife about matters of state. I consult with and talk to my wife about matters of state, and people flip their fucking lids. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Okay, simpleton. You didn't vote for the Supreme Court either.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't vote for the entire cabinet appointed by the president, so don't use that as an excuse.
Right.
And
who does? I mean, well, I guess we know who doesn't talk to their wife about what's going on, right? I mean, that's pretty fucking. I guess that's obvious.
Who's that? Any man or any woman with any substance or intelligence has always and will always consult their spouse or their girlfriend or their boyfriend about important shit. Why? Because an objective viewpoint might go, no, don't do that.
Don't do that. For God's sake.
That's a terrible idea.
Or that's a great idea. That, you know what? That's awesome. And you know what else you should do, right? Those kinds of things. That's a conversation.
And I know that Bill Clinton started the whole middle of the road Democrats and watered down democracy and liberals aren't liberals anymore. But I did like that he said that out loud.
Yeah.
That he said, I talked to my wife about these things. You know, so
fucking Bill
anyway.
Clinton. Son of a bitch.
He's
the first black president. What an asshole, dude.
Who said that?
Do you not remember that? That was like, I don't know. It must have been some white guy that fucking said it. But I think it was because he wore fucking Ray-Bans and played the saxophone or some shit. You don't remember that being said?
That's hilarious.
He was the first black president. What a bunch of assholes.
Do you remember Chris Rock, who's, I think, one of the great all-time thinkers of the last 30 years? Yeah. He's so funny. But he said, okay, so Obama got elected. He's all, big fucking deal. He's all, they elected the smartest man to be president. He's all, we haven't really approached racial equality until we get a really shitty black person.
A fucking dumbass black guy in there.
Electing the smartest, most handsome guy as president is not really a pat on the back.
Yeah,
So I thought that was really funny.
I love Chris Rock.
He's the best.
So yeah, I think that's really, although, I do want to say that I feel that, whoever worked out Q, took a lot of lessons from Gamergate, because it was.
When you say worked out, do you mean invented?
Q?
I know what Q is, right? QAnon, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Whoever started Q?
So again, this is probably a different show, or a different episode, but Q has a beginning, and then it was taken over, and then it was taken over again. Right? There's a pretty obvious trail through people, but they started it kind of in a whoever started it learned their lesson from Gamergate.
What to do, what not to do.
Right, because Gamergate ended up, I mean, essentially it was there was no leader, there was no agenda. There was no way to really get in there and actually talk to somebody who represented the movement. So it was very easy to shift the goalpost, as it were. And they took the lessons that they learned from Gamergate and put that into Q. I think there's a direct lineage from Gamergate to Q.
Now, you know a lot more about this than I do. So when I hear QAnon, I associate it with Nazi groups, but that's not. Let's say essentially what exactly QAnon is. So Q. Okay. I know this is a wormhole. Do you want to just do another episode?
It is really a fucking wormhole.
Should we not get into this right now?
Well, I'll give you the base idea. So the base idea is that this guy claimed that he was a high up officer with Q clearance. Right?
Which is CIA?
No, it's so fucking stupid. It is so fucking stupid. So Q clearance is basically a clearance that you get when you're working with nuclear power. They played it off as this fucking ultra high, more than top secret clearance, right? So, but it's not. It's like a Department of Energy clearance. And so they took that, and what he put across, whoever it was in the beginning put across, was that he was doing Q-Trops because he had certain insights into what was going on in the higher levels of government. And so the drops would be very vague, super vague. And they drop these things, and then all they had to do is like drop it and then walk away. Because
and what are they dropping? Like, name a thing they're dropping.
We'll have to look this up for the Q drops, right? And
is it like Edward Snowden? Like they pretend that they are releasing government secrets?
Except they're super vague. There's no definite way to interpret this. So what that did is it allowed all these fucking douchebags to come in and bake this shit. And so they would come in and, he'd say something super vague about, pay attention to the water, something like that. And then they'd fucking, the water. And if the 17th letter, I mean.
So conspiracy theorists could extrapolate endlessly.
Bake that shit. Okay. And if it was wrong, well, we baked it wrong. We gotta go back to the drawing board. I mean, it's just like the fucking millenarians, right? It's like
the end of the world guys that say, no.
Yeah, well,
2025
my numbers
is the end of the world.
I got the numbers wrong. It's actually going to be next year. And
I
need like $1,000 from everybody.
Yeah, I got my calculations wrong.
Yeah.
What's your calculator? Is
Bible.
It a log of shit and a pair of chopsticks? Because no one thinks this is scientific. So
but that's my theory is that Q came directly from Gamergate, and that is a total fucking tangent.
Okay, have you, just to wrap this up, not a little bit, but have you had any experience with Instagram or Twitter or any of these online entities as far as like, have you been on them? Have you interacted at all? Or
I follow music on Instagram,
sure.
and I follow T for the business.
Follow
T stuff.
Yeah, because you're interested in T and stuff. Yeah,
yeah. But really, I follow music, and that's about it. I try and ignore all the other shit. I see some boxing stuff too, but I try and avoid all that. And I do not interact with people. I don't like that. There's no comments. Like I don't fuck around with that because I just don't want to deal with it.
No. I was on Instagram the other day, and there was a post about Marilyn Manson is starting a new tour, and back when our friend Greg saw Marilyn Manson years ago and said it was incredible.
I bet it was an awesome
show. And I would have loved to have seen Marilyn Manson, and now we're at the point where I know enough about Marilyn Manson. Fuck that. He's not getting my money. Evan Rachel Wood was his girlfriend, and she's Jewish, and he said anti-Semitic things to her.
Yeah.
Not to someone online.
No.
So he's a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And all I said was on Instagram, I said, I was a big fan. He seemed to have an amazing stage show. I would love to go support him. But knowing what I know, and I believe the victims, when a victim writes something, I believe her. I don't think Evan Rachel Wood has a reason to lie about this at all.
I agree.
So the way he treated her and the way he treated people, fuck him.
Yeah.
He's not getting my money. And of course, I was mercilessly attacked for that. And it just, I think people need to decide, do you want to be a leader or a follower? Now, sure, there are, let's say, celebrities and musicians and artists that I admire. I love Miles Davis, despite the fact that I know he was an awful person.
An awful fucking person, yeah. Separating the art and the artist.
Yes.
That's an ongoing thing.
But I really do want to ask, do you want to be a leader or a follower? Because if you want to be a follower, then go ahead and latch yourself onto these 20 to 50 celebrities that you love and pretend like they're deities and pretend like they can do no wrong. Or be a leader and decide, I quoted that Swedish author today because that is an incredible thing that he said. I might find out, a month from now that he was an anti-Semite. Okay, fine.
I mean, he is Swedish.
Now, to be fair, I've got a very good friend in Sweden, so let's not paint them with a broad brush. But, I guess take these things in, use your skeptic's eye.
Right.
And decide, okay, sure, that's good and this is good. But, again, let's not deify these people. Yes, they're incredible artists. Yes, they deserve our admiration. But if you find out one of them is awful, if you've got a friend that you found out did something fucking awful, committed a rape or did something horrible, do you want to be friends with them? I don't.
Call them out, yeah.
I'm good.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you, and this is kind of in the vein, do you know anything about this Diddy situation?
Oh, So now Diddy left the country.
He fucking bailed because they came and raided his house, but I'm not sure exactly.
There's allegations of sex trafficking.
And I think children. I don't.
Jesus.
I'm not sure exactly.
That's
what
all
the
I
situation
know is that he fled the country, and there's some serious allegations.
Yeah.
But I don't want to paint with a broad brush because I haven't.
Don't
read.
know. Okay. I was just curious. I know that's completely off.
That's not good when you flee the country. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. You're not.
I don't know what.
Look good.
So, God bless him. I don't know what to say, man. Well, that's a weird one.
That's a weird one.
I know, it's funny. It's funny how I just said be an iconoclast, but I love Get Him to the Greek, which is a dumb comedy, and he's so great in that. P. Diddy's in that.
Oh, is he really? I guess I forgot about that.
And I'm just thinking, oh, that's a bummer. He was a good comic actor. And I'm like, oh my God, who gives a shit how good he was in that movie?
I mean, you could say the same thing about that piece of shit, Russell Brand.
Oh my God.
What a fucking douchebag.
You know what? So Russell Brand, and I remember seeing Russell Brand years ago, and it might have been Bill Maher, but I'm like, okay, so this guy's handsome. I never in the whole world knows he's handsome. Back in the day, maybe 15 years ago, I'm like, this guy's kind of smart, and he kind of says things that are intriguing, and boy, I saw him recently, and it's like, this guy's lost his fucking mind.
He's lost his fucking mind. Well, it's pure grift now. He's
What's he selling?
Himself. Right? I mean,
the other day I saw him say, Fox News is the same as MSNBC. And it's like, okay, look. And the guy on the show actually said, that's bullshit. He says, I've been on MSNBC. I've seen the inner workings of MSNBC. That's a false equivalency.
Right.
Don't for a moment tell me those are the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like there's these like red flags when you're dating, right? A red flag might be, this person might be crazy.
Yeah.
Let's not diminish mental illness, but I mean, you look for red flags, and a red flag I always look for is the false equivalency. The moment you commit that fallacy, okay, so everything I hear from you is going to be seen through that filter.
It's suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the lamest fallacy. It's the same. Because I remember when, before Biden beat Trump in the election, I read a lot of shit on Twitter about how Biden's as bad as Trump. And it's like, look, dude, I love the Green Party. I love the idea of a viable third party candidate. Don't lie to me. Don't look me in the eye and lie to me and tell me you really do think that Biden's as bad as Trump.
I think that they did.
Well, and
I think that a lot of those people actually believe that. And I think that it's because they're fucking stupid. Like that kind of talk. Like, I understand why they want to say that. I understand why they may even want to believe it. But the fact of the matter is, fuck that. Trump is a piece of shit, and he's trying to ruin the fucking country. Right. Biden has actually done stuff. I guess we're giving our politics away. We're going to hear about this.
Oh boy, we are liberal cucks.
Here we go. Simps.
Yeah. We are simps. We aren't beta males. We are zeta males.
Zeta. Yeah. We're fucking.
We are at the end.
The Zeta podcast
of the food chain. I remember someone was before the Biden victory. Someone was posting a video of Biden from the early 80s saying out loud that marriage should be between a man and a woman.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And his tag was, "What a monster."
Jesus Christ.
Now, I'm sorry if I mentioned this on the show before, but have you ever seen that picture of Bernie Sanders speaking at a gay rights rally? It's like 1981.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders speaking at a gay rights rally. Find me any other politician in 1981 standing up for gay rights.
Fucking getting arrested.
You will
man.
not find it. Right, getting arrested in the 60s for civil rights stuff. But I mean, like, in the early 80s, the entire body politic was homophobic.
Absolutely. And in the early 80s, I mean, that was the beginning of the whole AIDS epidemic. People were fucking shitting their pants about the whole thing.
Yes.
And I remember horrible. Oh, yeah, just fucking 80s, dude.
Right. And so this person who posted this Biden thing says, "What a monster." So old man Biden doesn't feel that way anymore.
No.
Old man Biden genuinely, he's the one that got Obama to say marriage is whoever you want to be married to. Essentially, it can be a man and a man, a woman and a woman. Let's not judge. Biden's the one that moved Obama to say that. So who do you respect more? Someone who is entrenched in their own ideology, or someone who moves with the progress of social justice?
Who can change their mind? Once you have better information and you change your fucking mind. I don't understand what the whole I mean, I guess this is part of the problem with this idea of toxic masculinity is that you have to fucking stay solid in your fucking idiocy, right? You can't fucking change your mind. But once more information comes along, it's just purely more information.
Have you seen that protest sign? It actually says, "My opinion changes based on new information."
Oh, God, what a fucking good thing! Like that's the best bumper sticker I think that's a bumper sticker right there.
That's the scientific method.
That is a scientific method. Science is not a thing; it's a process.
Exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah, we both worked at the same place a few years ago, and the admin there once tried to tell me that first of all, that Noah's Ark killed the dinosaurs. Noah's flood killed the dinosaurs.
God damn it, dude! Who the fuck tells you that?
I'll tell you later.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, I said, "Do you know about carbon dating?" And she goes, "Oh, that's just a theory." Yeah. She goes, "That's just a theory," and I couldn't, I could kind of like in 3 seconds right now have a different comeback, which is that's not what scientific theory is.
That's
scientific theory is new evidence based on new evidence based on new evidence, and it's reassessed constantly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so so again, Biden, would I like to vote for Alexandria Cortez as president? Yes.
You would.
For example, would I like to vote for a younger woman? Right?
For sure.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But again, let's get Grandpa to watch over the country before another candidate shows up. And not pretend that Trump and Biden are the same. And I get it. Democrats have voted into law things that hurt minorities decade after decade. Right? The punitive drug laws in the 80s, Biden and Kamala Harris both signed those into law.
Well, I mean, Clinton was a fucking nightmare, dude. Yes. I mean, he did have a hand in bringing us to where we are now with his fucking awful policies on. I mean, NAFTA was bullshit, dude.
Don't ask, don't tell was bullshit.
Don't ask, don't tell was bullshit. Yes. He was a straight up fucking conservative. I mean, he was a conservative Republican, really, when it gets down to it.
Right.
The only reason they didn't like him is because he was the first black president.
All right. Did we cover all your bullets? What do you think?
I think we got everything covered. Did we relate everything that we've been talking to our baseline of being an antidote to toxic masculinity?
Well, I guess that's a good question.
Right?
I think as men and as women, all of us need to constantly reassess our ideology and our prejudice.
Be willing to be wrong and admit that. Yeah.
Be willing to be wrong. Be willing to admit it. When you look at a man or a woman or a non-gendered person, let's use the whole spectrum here.
Yeah.
Let's just all look at them as individuals.
Now, as far as I totally agree with that. But how do you put that into play as a gamer, as somebody in the gaming scene? How do you make that point to people that are being shitty online?
Yes. So I think it's kindness. You must have read that story about that guy that befriended a lot of KKK members in Philadelphia.
That collected their robes?
Yes. So he befriended he'd go to funerals, he'd have a lunch with, a beer. He collected 220 Klan robes from guys that gave it up.
Yeah.
And he did it all with kindness. And I think that, the thing about society, right, is society correct? Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is slow, but it bends towards justice. And I think the way that happens is societal reinforcement of positive things and societal, let's say, calling out of negative things. Now, how do you call it out? Don't embarrass people. So we understand that we have some bones to pick with the Trump voters, right? I have to remember that my uncle was a Trump voter. My uncle in Kentucky voted for Trump, and I love him. He's always been kind to me. He's always been good. And so I have to remember that when I think, fuck Trump voters.
Are you still good with him now?
Oh, very much.
Yeah, okay.
And we've never talked about politics, thank God.
Okay.
But I really do think kindness and kind of lightness is the way to do it. It's like the thing about Trump, and I think this is the core of Donald Trump. If society tells you racism and homophobia is wrong, eventually you go, maybe it is wrong. If your president endorses it, that is tacit approval of your worst instincts.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it like we talked about, it gives the assholes permission to be assholes and not do any self-reflecting. I mean, I really think that a huge part of being of masculinity, I mean, since that's what we're about,
right.
is self-reflection and the idea that you can always be better. There is something to change for, right? I mean,
yes.
And I guess getting that point across to people that you don't know in an anonymous space is really difficult.
It is. It's wrought with peril. Mm-hmm. And I think some people just go in there angry and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
But I think, I do think like trying to bridge the gap. Like, we've been told that Republicans hate Democrats, Democrats hate Republicans, and never the twain shall meet. When in fact, the majority of the country is for gun control, for example.
Sure.
The majority of Republicans are for the legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
So what does that show? It disproves the lie that we're all polarized on these issues. And that if you, for example, vote Republican, you can't possibly be sympathetic to heterosexuals and queer people. I just don't think that's true. I don't believe there are Republicans that every Republican hates heterosexuals.
Homosexuals?
I'm sorry, homosexuals. Pardon me. I think we have to try to find common ground. Is the only thing we can do. It's not easy. Have you ever had a thing in real life or like at the workplace where you saw something racist or homophobic and did you say anything? Because it's not easy. And that's what we're talking about here is, can we call this stuff out?
Not at the workplace, but I do call people out. Like if I see it, and it's a situation where, like I have to feel somewhat safe to do it.
Sure.
Right. But I'll fucking call people out. No, I won't. It's difficult at work because
yes,
I mean because that kind of gets sketchy. But if somebody was overtly racist or talking shit about gays, trans, whatever, I would fucking call them out because fuck that. I don't want to be around it.
No, years ago when you and I worked at the same place.
Yeah,
the boss, who we won't mention, told me a racist joke. And that was 20 years ago. And boy, I was a lot less mature and equipped to defend myself 20 years ago than I am now.
Yeah.
But I remember saying, that's fucking lame. He told a joke. It was fucking lame. And I said it and he got it. I don't know where I got that strength from because I didn't have that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend today and I said, my tattoo says never again in Hebrew. And it means a lot of things.
Yeah.
Of course it's related to the Holocaust, but really, how do we further social justice and how do we further positive role models for men and women?
Yeah.
Never again. It's like I would rather say something and suffer the consequence than allow it to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I totally agree. And that sort of bravery it's tough to do it all the time, but I think that is that's a definition of masculinity, or one of the things that goes along with masculinity. And
my friend today, you're going to like this. So she was talking to her therapist, and one of the advice that her therapist gave her was, you need to speed up your response time. So, my friend would hear something hurtful, stew on it for several days.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
And that's classic, though. I mean, I think everybody kind of does that to some degree.
Well, the lubricant of society is we don't tell the truth all the time.
Right.
Which is that thing you just said is fucked.
Yeah.
However, there is nuance to this. I've seen things in the workplace where a guy just said something awkward, and he is not homophobic, and he is not racist. But I've heard things said that were kind of in the middle. Like it wasn't the greatest thing to say, but actually he didn't mean any harm by it.
Right. The intention wasn't there.
Right. And no one said anything because it was appropriate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we do have to let certain things slide.
Right. You can't be jumping on fucking everything because then you're going for things that you have no context for. Right. I mean, I think a lot of the problem that you see with shit on campus right now is people not paying attention to context and jumping on people's shit. Like, especially, I mean, the Jewish-Palestinian problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's probably the wrong way to say it.
That conundrum.
The issue.
That sticky icky
the little
that they're in right
the
now.
The thing that's going on, yeah. I mean, like, there's fucking no nuance on take. Everybody is ready to be mad about shit, and if you say anything that not even clashes, but this doesn't go along with whatever party line you're towing, they're ready to fucking stab you in the neck.
Righteous indignation and rageaholics right? That's a thing that's interconnected.
Right. That's two sides of the same coin. Totally.
It is.
I agree with that. But righteous indignation, I mean, either one can, righteous indignation can turn to fucking rageaholics real fast.
It really can. And you really can thrive on hate, and it is addictive. And it's funny. I always try to tell people, I am, let's say probably, let's call myself the least knowledgeable person about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in the United States. Meaning I am dumb about this shit. What I do know is Netanyahu's a garbage person.
Yeah.
Netanyahu got intelligence that an attack was imminent and did nothing about it. And as a friend said to me the other day, might have been you, I don't remember who said this, well, if you know something's going to happen and you don't stop it, then what is your motive? A war. Your motive is a war.
Do we want to get into this? Because
maybe not.
I mean, I got things to say about it.
Well, we could devote an episode to it. We'll talk about it. But at any rate, I just, did you have something to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I like, fuck Hamas, fuck Bibi, like,
fuck Netanyahu.
That's what that's Bibi. That's Bibi.
Okay. Yeah. He's the Trump of Israel.
He's worse than Trump because he's smart and he's got fucking backing. And he kowtows to the fucking Orthodox Jews and lets them fucking settle the West Bank.
Yeah.
He fucking approved, billions of dollars in funding to keep Hamas in power.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, dude, he had.
Okay. Oh, we will. We'll get into it later. Okay. I promise we'll talk about it.
We'll do it. We'll do it another time. But he's a bad fucking man.
He is.
And he is as responsible for this as anybody else. I mean, fuck Hamas, fuck the jihadis, dude. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And them killing those poor ravers, like, nothing breaks
awful.
my heart more than that. I think that whole fucking thing is just so awful. But Bibi,
fuck him too.
Fuck him, dude.
Yeah, and I think, do you remember when George Bush got reelected? Okay, so
when he got elected for the first time?
No, the second time. So when he got reelected, I said he's not going to win because, and I was listening to a lot of Air America back then, so I was getting all the liberal kind of good smart guys were kind of like stoking my fire. He's no way he's going to get reelected.
Yeah.
And I said, if he gets reelected, that proves people either don't care or they don't know, and both are terrifying.
Yeah.
And he got reelected, and I was deeply depressed.
Yeah, that was
remember how we thought that was the worst president of all time, and Trump is 10 times worse. But anyway, so when he got reelected, there was a lovely campaign. I might have been started outside the U.S. where basically they said they got that a lot of Americans did not like George Bush Jr. And they said, we get it. There was, I don't remember what it was called.
I do,
but there was a whole campaign where they would hold up a sign, I'm from Sweden. I get it. We hate Bush, but we understand that you didn't vote for him. And so Americans would write things back and they would post them online, I didn't vote for Bush, fuck Bush, So I think like this Israel Netanyahu thing is the same thing. There are a lot of Israelis that don't like him and agree that we should not be oppressing Palestinians.
Absolutely. No, not a judgment on the Jewish people. No. Israel has a right to be.
Yeah.
So does Palestine.
Yes, absolutely.
That's it.
Let's come up with a solution.
Right. That's nuance, and you can't. That's a real problem on campus these days for some reason.
Yeah, nuance is lost in a lot of debate.
Yeah.
So, and reason, and kindness, and listening. Can we just listen to each other, even if they don't agree with us?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Too much to ask.
Probably.
What do you think? Did we cover everything?
I think we got everything. You got any more ways to relate the online gaming world to masculinity?
Do I have any other ways to get us in trouble talking about politics? No.
I'm sure we can work something out.
No, I'm good. I'm sure next time we'll get into a whole new thing. So,
all right.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Take care, brother.
Rock on. You have been listening to The Trivium Man. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can either call us at 415-484-8841 or send us an email at thetriviumpod@gmail.com.